Hi everyone. So for the second day in a row, an evening cast of the Fristi Roggan Cup. Today I'm joined by the legendary Tim.
Legendary even, thanks.
What other word could we use to describe you?
Low elo legendary, sure.
Legend is in there.
Yeah, all right.
All right, and we will be casting a series of games between Jolatis and Kron. Kron, very well known to the both of us. Jolatis, a bit more of an outsider.
Yeah, but should be one of the favorites. I think yesterday we saw a favorite matchup, and I think today another one.
Mm-hmm.
I think those were the two most named people in the betting pool to finish first.
I think these matches were indeed the most one-sided ones, according to all participants. So I think we will learn from our mistakes and not spend as much time analyzing all the civs. Uh, but let's go over them really quickly. Uh, so we see Jolatis picked as his maps Aftermath and Marketplace. Elkron went for Socotra and Hideout. And I have to say, these are all quite, well, rather diverse maps, each taking an open and a closed map. And their civs are all quite powerful. I don't really see any surprises.
It's the first time I think that Socotra is picked.
I think Socotra was also picked in the Joe Nasty versus Snelly Snail. Or the Frobenius versus Rob Rockhart. Sorry, that game.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, we're starting with our traditional Northern Isles. Having a quick look, my personal bet would be Jolatis picking Italians and El Kron going for. Well, that's a bit more difficult. Um,
Italians is quite predictable since it's a water sieve.
mhm.
Well, I
uh,
mean, doesn't mean that he chooses it, but
no, indeed. El Kron, I would bet on Byzantines if I would look at the water bonuses, but I think there's no clear favorite among the civs. But like I said, learning from yesterday's mistakes, let's not dwell on this too long, and let's hop in the game. Uh, and we see, well, once I switch them both location and color to be consistent with the overlay, Jolatis indeed going for Italians and El Kron going for Saracens.
yes, indeed.
All right,
Not
so Tim,
expected, but
a little bit unexpected, yes. So Tim, are you ready?
yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. And Knight of St. John asks for game sounds. I think I have fixed them. If you could let me know if it actually has been fixed, that would be great. But so we see Elkron immediately rushing his scouts to his transport ship, along with at least one villager. So we're going to see a quick landing. Jolatis going for a dock on the front, immediately double bit axe for some eco boost. A house. So I have the impression that it's going to be more of an eco-based approach. And the landing has been made by El Kron, and
But
I
also
think
immediately
immediately
spotted.
spotted. So the element of surprise is not really there. Uh, Building an archery range on the enemy island. They are there, yes. Okay, the game sounds are present. So that should be at least a little bit more immersive than before. Meanwhile, back at home, El Kron doesn't seem to be doing too much.
I
So
think he's
all the
focusing on his villager that's being attacked by the scouts
yes, indeed.
and
Ooh,
got killed.
got killed indeed. And the archery range stuck at 64%. Manages to save his scout. But that is it, and Jolatis is going for the walling in technique, denying the building. Although costing him some villager time. Meanwhile, going for 3 fire galleys of his own, establishing naval dominance. Although at the same time Kron has 2 fire galleys of his own. And if we look at the resources, Kron much closer to going up to Castle Age. Fire galleys from... at least 1 fire galley from Kron coming forward. But his 4 fishing ship in the back are vulnerable to the approaching fire galley of Jolatis. And the advancing fire galley of Kron has been spotted and is being chased by 3 of Jolatis' fire galleys. 1 more fire galley in the queue, 2 galleys, 1 galley already out, so the Italians really going for water presence here.
And Kron is housed at the moment and is losing his fishing ships.
Well, that solves the housing issue, but he's also going up to Castle Age. So if he can manage to keep around some of his fire galleys and go for a quick upgrade, that can give him the tech edge he needs to make up for the the deficit that he's been building up with his failed landing. I think this is the first time that we've seen in the Fristi Cup a failed landing.
Yes, indeed.
At least to this extent.
I also like the very Sims-like structure of the base of Jolatis with all the houses nicely next to each other, like it's...
I do appreciate it, but Jolatis, if you are watching, what's up with this last house, man? Everything nicely in a row, and then the last one... Why? Why? Anyway. Ooh! So I only got the last edge of that maneuver, but Jolatis garrisoned his villagers that are forming around his town center inside in order to go for a slightly quicker castle time. Haven't seen that strat too often used among the players up to now.
He also built a second dock, so I think he's... third dock, sorry. So I think he's going for more and more water presence.
More water presence. I also see 2 archers in the queue for him, so I would expect a transport ship to carry those across. Meanwhile, some micro with the galleys at the back of Kron's base. Kron in the meantime in Castle Age, but I don't see any naval upgrades coming in yet. Probably because he only has a single dock and the last of his military ships have just been destroyed. Going for a second town center with 1 villager just standing by with a pickaxe in his hands.
I think that's the 3rd town center, because at the top of the base there's also 1 constructed. Or being constructed.
3rd town center indeed, my apologies. So yes, Kron trying to boom back due to the eco losses he suffered, losing quite a few of his fishing ship. He could also consider deleting the archery range that is still unbuilt on Jolatis Island. At least he would get some wood back from that. And indeed, Jolatis going for the war galley upgrade, careening, coming in, Bosa for extra wood gathering. So he really is going all in on water. And as we've seen in the Jolatis versus Pedrak Delta game, that can pay off.
there's no more dock left for Kron, so it will be difficult to establish water presence now.
Indeed, and if we have a look at the line of sight of Jolatis, he knows almost all the edges of Kron's base. Well, his island, I should say.
I think the
so
next...
he should know that there is indeed no dock. And if he just gathers his ships around the island, he can deny any dock that Kron attempts to build. And now all shores have been explored, and he knows that there is no dock at the moment.
Probably for the next minutes, it's gonna be booming on each on their own island, and seeing who comes out with the stronger boom.
Indeed. Kron a slight edge on that due to a slightly quicker building of his extra town centers. Meanwhile, Jolatis has built right now his third town center, and indeed, as I mentioned, in the meantime, Kron has deleted his archery range on the enemy island and got some wood back from that. So at the moment, 48 villagers and 6 fishing ships for Jolatis, 63 villagers for Kron.
I already mentioned to Wouter before the broadcast, I looked a little bit up about the civilizations, and actually these two civilizations fought each other in real life as well. So the Saracens, they invaded the Sicily, and they tried to invade the south of Italy. Now, back at the time, it was actually not the Italians that were on the island, but the Byzantines. But in later stages, so first the Saracens conquered Sicily from the Byzantines, I thought, and then later on there were a lot of wars between Byzantines and Saracens, and then the Italians came to play, and they conquered the south of Italy back, and then I think that the Italians won from the Saracens on Sicily. But that's if I remember everything correct. But most probably someone with a better history knowledge could confirm if that is true in chat.
In the meantime, while we experienced this example of, real life history between the Saracens and the Italians or Byzantines, Kron managed to build a castle on the front of his island, securing that area, chasing away Jolatis' ships, and managing to procure him some place to plonk down 2 docks. So he can start fighting for the water again. In the meantime, no castle yet for Jolatis, just a 4th town center. So really going for the boom. And if we switch to the point of view, not of Kron but of Jolatis, we see that with the outpost on his own island, there is almost no way, and I'm expecting a final outpost indeed to be built here. There is at the moment no way for Kron to create a sneak attack without Jolatis spotting it well in advance. So very good map control of our top seeded player, who, as he mentioned, has played team games with Cito and against Cito. So there's a reason why quite a few players are guessing on Jolatis to go through to the next round.
Kron just finished ballistics and is mossing galleys.
Indeed, but he's also still missing Bodkin Arrow, which also helps with his galleys that he's now producing out of 4 docks. A second castle in order to secure the shore a little bit more. In the meantime, Jolatis has moved onto the central island and started a stone mine there, while also upping all the way to Imperial Age. Ballistics also coming in for him. And if we have a look at the economy of Jolatis, we see here that the wood line is a little bit overpopulated with some very inefficient wood villagers that have to go all the way around to their lumber camp. But this does show that on this map wood is actually quite a limited resource. At least in comparison to other maps. And then a defensive town center in the middle island for Jolatis. That will be town center number 5. Still no castle. Although he has over 1000 stone, so he could put one, at least as a defensive measure, on the central island.
But does he need it currently? I don't really think so.
Needed? I don't think so, but it could help in at least channeling the navy that Kron has managed to gather to an area that he favors.
I think
And now
only when it
Imperial
becomes
Age is in. Bracer, Galleon coming in. A trap war is indeed also a possibility. Chemistry coming in. So I'm expecting pretty soon we will also see some cannon galleons to make their appearance in order to deal with the castle. And if we actually take a look, 6 docks, or at least 4 docks built, 2 docks being built by Jolatis. Meanwhile, Kron having 7 docks built and 8 dock being built. So both are relatively equal in number of production buildings. But if we look at the numbers, 24 war galleys versus 34, slight edge to, for Jolatis.
I think the middle town center is not going to survive for very long.
No, indeed, I think that was decided when I think about 14 war galleys are aiming their fire on the town center. And now the navy of Jolatis is making a little bit of a push in the center, but underneath castle fire of 2 castles, I think that's a bit of a mistake. Indeed, he retreats, and then he's starting to build his own defensive castle on the middle island.
It might come to a trap war after all.
With 3 cannon galleons in the mix, I don't think there will be much trap war going on. Meanwhile, this has the appearance of a... oh no.
Doubt Castle, you wanted to say?
I almost wanted to say it, but then Kron retreated with his navy. So now that's quite the secure haven for the navy of Jolatis. Meanwhile, he rebuilds a mining camp. And the cannon galleon is already attacking the castle, which has been reduced to about 3/4 health already.
I also only this week learned the wordplay of the Doubt Castle. It's because it's an achievement, apparently. I was looking through the achievements of Age of Empires, and you have the Castle of Doubt.
Yes.
Spelled differently.
Obviously, but it is in reference to our Lord and Savior Doubt.
Ah, really? Oh, I thought it was the other way around. That first the achievement existed, and then they made the wordplay.
No. The Doubt Castle stems back from the days of, I think, the HD edition. Where Doubt really wanted to build a castle. No word of your landing. There was a landing? I completely missed it. Indeed, Jolatis has landed with a couple of villagers. A castle
and a stable.
A stable. That is why I saw forging coming in. So these scouts are really going to wreck the base of Kron, because aside from some galleons and elite cannon galleons, he has almost no defense. So those scouts will cause some major eco damage if you don't run them under the castle fire, Jolatis.
We were both distracted by the fight in the middle, and my stupidity of not knowing the origin of the Doubt Castle.
Indeed, it's understandable, Tim. It's understandable. Meanwhile, the landing continues. A third stable, 2 archery ranges, and if we have a look, no, Kron has. Well, he should know that there's something here because, you know, scouts are suddenly appearing and attacking his villagers. Although he might be a little bit too distracted with an ongoing fight in the middle, where the 3 elite cannon galleons are destroying the castle on the middle island. But now we have already 7 scout cavalry, 12 more in the queue. So I think the naval dominance will be converted into some scout rushing. Kron taking some action, trying to wall up, making sure that Jolatis has to pass by the castle and take some castle fire. Unfortunately, the edge of the island is not wallable. Like, you cannot build any walls there, as unfortunately Snelly Snail found out. And now there are 8 scout cavalry in the middle of the eco of Kron. And they are causing a right massacre.
Archery range is built as well. I think this is gonna be raided to death.
Indeed, and then a second castle coming up. 13 more scout cavalry, light cavalry being researched, plate barding armor, so really going all in on the light cav raiding. Meanwhile, still having 33 galleons, 11 cannon galleons, and keeping Kron busy with the fight in the middle. So I do believe that there's a decent chance that Kron, though he's putting up a good fight, I think he might just lose this. Oh, but there are the Mamelukes to counter the light cav that are being produced, and Jolatis is not realizing that his gather point means that they just walk to their death. The castle unbuilt, 43%. Oh, but there come the Genoese crossbowmen.
I think this is a nice example of how to counter the counter and counter that counter. And
Indeed, it's as we all know, the Italians have access to the Genoese crossbowmen, who have a serious bonus against cavalry, which Mamelukes are. In the meantime, indeed, Kron lost his castle. The castle was being rebuilt in the middle. His navy was being torn to shreds. The Mamelukes that he managed to gather were dying to just a few Genoese crossbowmen. Light cavs were mossing. And he gives the GG well played. And that is game number 1. So Tim, I know you mentioned that it's not your strongest suit, but if you can distract the listeners while I adjust my overlay, that would be great.
Oh, I'll try. The only thing I just noticed is that Kron created more. I forgot the name. Galleons, I think. Than Jolatis during the game, which is quite surprising. I don't know what the win loss or the kill death ratio was of both, but I expected it to be quite equal, actually.
Well, we can have a look. Meanwhile, I will update the score as well, and we see that actually there's a little bit of a difference. A ratio of 1.2 for Jolatis, 0.8 for Kron. So indeed, as you mentioned, more galleons built by Kron, but apparently they were more effective for Jolatis.
But is that then the Italian Civ bonus? Because the fighting mostly occurred underneath the castles of Kron.
I think it's more the fact that especially the early fighting happened while Jolatis had upgrades, while Kron did not.
Did not yet. Okay. Yeah.
All right, but that was a rather exciting first match.
So that means in the end the Italians won. So it was the not the first part of history, but the second part of history that we witnessed today. Basically, Italy taking back Sicily.
Indeed. Giving us access to pizza, and I'm just now assuming that pizza comes from Sicily. Now, for the second game, I see a certain combination, and I have the map loaded up already. I know that the combination is happening.
Yeah, I also see it happening.
I don't think much has to be said. Kron has hideout, he has Khmer.
So I think we're going for a shorty.
He is indeed, as Knight of St. John is saying, you are getting deja vu. We all are, because indeed, as you can see, it's a slightly different civ now. Also put Kron in red. But it is Khmer capture the relic on hideout. So, Tim, if you have the game loaded up.
Yep.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. And I think that not much has to be said. Kron just immediately researching Castle Age, house being built for some population space.
Yeah, so we basically know the strategy from
we know the strategy indeed. As mentioned, these games were played before yesterday's cast was given. So from now on, for the semifinals and the finals, we have decided to ban this particular strategy, because unless you have a really good map as the opponents here, there is practically no way to counter the Khmer rush towards the relic. Although there is to be said, Kron has a quite shitty map gen. He is forced to wall all the way to the edge of the forest, while also not the best map generation for Jolatis. He also needs to wall a little bit if he would want to do the same strategy. But maybe Jolatis is present and can update us. Did you have any idea what was going to happen? Because based on this looks like a normal build order. With you being blissfully unaware of the upcoming tragedy. And indeed, Kron already in Castle Age, castle coming up. In a surprise change from yesterday's attempt, there is no market, no extra villagers being built, but there is an archery range for some defensive archers if necessary. So a variation, but it's just a variation on the same theme.
Yeah, we're basically just waiting.
Waiting for it to be over.
Yeah, indeed, until happens what cannot be avoided, so to say. And now the market is getting there. Oh, market deleted.
Oh, market deleted.
Okay,
Built a little bit further in order not to block the entrance to the base.
But so yeah, today I was, as I said, looking up some civilizations, and I found that the well, we already know that ballista elephants are coming out, so there's no spoilers there. They actually existed.
Really? Huh. Were they actually useful?
Yeah. So they mounted double Chinese crossbows on elephants, and they used them into battle. I think the Khmer had at the height of their power, they had an army of 20,000 elephants.
That is quite the zoo.
Elephants.
And as we see Kron cutting a nice wide path for his monk towards the middle. A fun fact, the fact that camels counter horses. I was reminded of this because of the unusual animals in armies being used. It turns out that horses really do not like the smell of camels, and they get very scared and do not really obey their riders anymore. So the fact that camels counter cavalry has actual historical background.
Oh, interesting. So, in a zoo, would they place them very far apart then?
I would imagine so.
I mean, I never saw horses in a zoo, but...
Although you could make the argument that in a zoo they could probably get used to each other's scent. And Jolatis sees what's going to happen, and he does not even give Kron the pleasure of capturing that relic. He just goes for the immediate GG and resigns. Well, I think there's not much to be said here.
No.
I mean, this is what it looks like when you have no idea that something is coming. Let's give Kron the 1-1 that he deserves. So now it's on to game number 3.
For which we will go to a map of Jolatis, which is then... what is it? Hideout?
No, not Hideout. Hideout is what we just played. It's Aftermath or Marketplace.
Oh, yeah. But I see 2 files, so I think it's probably the second.
What do you mean you see 2 files?
If you check game 3 and game 4 in the game files, they both have the same civs.
Oh. Well then, I am trying not to spoil myself, so I'm copying over the files one by one while this matchup overview is being shown. So I only see game 3.
All right.
So let's...
We can load it, but my guess is that it's going to be a... Sorry, something went wrong. Let's start again.
that is a distinct possibility. So indeed, it's Aftermath. And I'm loading it up, and I will switch the colors already. As mentioned, it's Aftermath, and it's Tatars for Jolatis and Berbers for Kron. So Tim, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. So
Yeah. GG.
GG. I am not Vil spawned in the woods. Not completely sure.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes, indeed. Villager stuck there. Yes, that is indeed a good reason to restart the game. So in that case, you will see the reloading that is going on here.
Same matchup.
Indeed. So it's
Hopefully
still
better spawn.
Aftermath. All right. You ready, Tim? Tim?
Yeah. Ready.
Okay. So 3, 2, 1, go again. And now, hopefully, there is no villagers spawning in the woods. Now, Aftermath, as we've seen already in the matchup between Joe Nasty and Snilly Snail, a very fast-paced map. Control of these trade workshops gives you a steady flow of resources. Jolatis already capturing one. Kron, ooh, barely missing the trade workshop there. Scout has to double back. Archery range coming up for Jolatis. I'm expecting Jolatis to push for an early Castle Age, trying to take advantage of the power spike that he gets with Tatars with their free thumb ring. Berbers, they could hold and try to go for camel archers as the counter to the cavalry archers. But let's see what Kron's plan is. A spearman being sent, a second spearman actually being sent to guard the trade workshop. In the meantime, he also captured the left trade workshop with his scouts. And he is house walling at least the front of his base, so that he has at least some advance warning before Jolatis enters the area around his town center. A second stable being built.
After the last Age of Empires tournament, I think all the pros said that the markets were best defended by spearmen, indeed. I don't know exactly why, but usually you send for a relic, you send a scout to stand there, but for the markets they said you should send spearmen.
It is rather easier to send a speedy unit to capture the market, so you're tempted to send scouts, which are countered by spearmen. If you send archers, they do counter spearmen, but at least they are slower walking, so you buy some time before, and also advanced knowledge that the opponent has archers. For a relic, it's rather obvious the scout is the counter to the monk. And as we can see here, even if you just send spearmen, the fact that there is no ballistics at this point of the game means that they can last actually quite a long time by just dodging arrow fire. So now Jolatis having recaptured that trade workshop, but he should be careful because there are 3 scouts from Kron that are coming to raid him. Immediately spotted, archer is pulling back, small palisade wall here, diverting the scout. Apologies, the scouts. The scouts are trying to find some way to damage, but unfortunately the wood villagers here have been walled in, so they can't really pick up any damage.
In the meantime, there's a fight for the other market.
Oh. I will scroll over there. Indeed, fight for the other market. Temporarily, that market is under control of Jolatis. And here we see some micro happening. I do believe that Kron will have to give up contesting this workshop.
That one spearman from Jolatis went for the MVP award.
I missed what did the one spearman do?
He went for the MVP award because there were like 5 scouts and only 1 spearman, and then together with the archers. The fact that he was in between, he was the MVP of the fight for me.
That is indeed a nice bonus there. And meanwhile, Kron trying to raid the wood villagers, but Jolatis simply proving too much, fending off that attack with a spearman and 2 archers. And Jolatis also upping to Castle Age, padded archer armor researched. And with these 2 archery ranges that he already has, he can actually mass quite the amount of archers. And then the upgrades to crossbow, bodkin, and then the free thumb ring immediately researched. That is going to be quite the power spike. Meanwhile, some nice archer micro here, gathering the troops up. And then against these 2 spearmen and 9 archers, Kron decides, let's just retreat with these 8 scout cavalries. In the meantime, he also has an archery range, and he is building some skirmishers in order to fend off what he knows is coming, and that is an archer rush. However, Jolatis, 10 seconds away from Castle Age, once he gets to crossbows, with bodkin arrow, skirmishers die way too quickly to do any real damage to crossbows, especially when they are masked. And yep, Bosa, crossbowman coming in.
The archers from Jolatis just ran away from the trade market, I don't know why. Basically just giving it up.
I think they were just regrouping a little bit and waiting for upgrades to come in. And now indeed, you see this happening. Bodkin arrow being researched. And there you see that, yeah, at this stage, with feudal age units, you can't really do much against masked crossbows. Kron realizing this already and saying, well, GG. You've managed to reach Castle Age. I haven't done any damage to you whatsoever. My focus on scouts and then skirmishers probably put me behind in food eco so much that there's no way for me to really catch up. And then he just says, well, let's not drag this out unnecessarily. Let's just resign.
Something completely unrelated, but I'm really wondering how he managed to type GG3. Because the 3 is not close to the enter. It's at the top of the keyboard or on the numpad.
When
or
you
maybe
press
he
enter,
uses the side enter. Oh, maybe
uses
like
side enter.
I thought maybe he wanted to write a heart and he forgot the less than sign. He said GG heart.
I mean, we both know Kron, that is a distinct possibility. So, Jolatis taking it 2-1. So then we go for the second home map of Kron, which is, once I fix my overlay, I will show it up here, is Socotra. Indeed. Yes, my memory is bad, as we all know. So, Socotra, as we both know, is a regicide map.
Yes.
So it's Socotra regicide.
We hope to see a king snipe.
We hope to see a king snipe. And I have a suspicion because, again, I talk with players sometimes. There might be a certain tactic used here, not through invoking one of the rules, but by carefully picking your civilization. I see that Kron has managed to pick Chinese, while every other civilization starts housed on Socotra. That is not the case for the Chinese.
Well, but the Huns also don't have to build any houses, so they also don't start housed, right?
That is indeed true, but they do start with 3 villagers less, if I'm not mistaken, than the Chinese. So this minimizes indeed the eco bonus that the Chinese get. So overall, yes, this is a very solid pick. And of course, let me switch the overlay. It is indeed Socotra, it is Chinese for Kron, and it is Huns for Jolatis. Okay, Tim, are you ready?
Yes, ready.
3, 2, 1, go. So yes, Socotra, as Tim mentioned, we like to see a king snipe. It's Socotra, I also want to see some laming. So let's see who has the guts to go forward.
With the king to scout.
King Scout is already
if you have
being
that
done by
much.
Jolatis.
Oh, on Socotra. That's brave, I would say, because the enemy is very close.
Indeed, he was going forward, but then decides, let's maybe stick myself inside the watchtower. And then let me zoom out a little bit. Oh. Kron is using his king to scout around. And I think that his scout is really going for the attack on Jolatis' scout. That can be quite painful, because Jolatis now just only has to retreat to the range of his watchtower, take the fight, and that is not something that Kron wants to do, and indeed he chooses to back down from it. Meanwhile, there's a villager going forward. Like I said, Socotra is the map for the lamers. Ooh, look at those advanced strats. Oh!
Blocking with the king.
Blocking with the king, but then the counter blocking with his own scout, making sure that the elephant kills the villager. Oh, I love it. I love it. And now... Ooh, and there he... Giving the king a little tap. That is nice. King on the run. A second tap by the scout. And he forces him into the tower. I am liking this game already. This is Socotra. This is war. Now Jolatis obviously has to work without his elephant. So he decides to go for a forward mill on his zebras. And get some hunt that way, making up for the missed food. But overall, I would say both players in a rather comfortable position. Oh, and we see some nice deer luring by Kron. That is another tactic you can use indeed instead of forward milling. And we see here another deer being pushed. I know that
very peculiar deer with white and black stripes.
You know, it's deer come in all sizes and shapes.
No discrimination.
No discrimination here indeed. And I know that Kron cannot be here and would be sad if I missed all the excellent deer luring action, so I am making sure that I'm getting every single pixel of it. So now, this scout should go back down to the rest of the herd. No? Yes, yes, yes. Let's have a quick look here. Oh, there's a barracks going up for Jolatis, so there might be some Drush coming up, but we cannot miss any second of the deer luring action. However, ooh, he has to retreat because Jolatis is now pushing the deer of Kron towards his own base. That might have been accidental. Oh no, no, indeed. He is pushing the one deer back to his own base. And Kron, unfortunately, in trying to scout there, helps him out. That is very unfortunate. There goes one deer. And then that one will also get pushed back towards the town center. So, oh no, not to the town center because there are no villagers there anymore.
The other mill then?
Gets pushed all the way to the other mill. This is some great lure 2 deer with 1 scout just now. Indeed you did. You have to admit Kron did accidentally help you a little bit. But indeed, that was simply beautiful. So even though he is missing an elephant, I don't think Jolatis will be short on food anytime soon.
I mean, you never know that it was accidental, right? He did
That
tag
is
GG with a heart in the previous game. So
indeed. We are sticking with that story, so a player that nice can indeed decide, well, let me just help my opponent out. Now, both players in Feudal Age, stable coming up for Jolatis. Spearman already coming out as defense measure. Double bit axe coming in. So rather standard eco approach, but with this new distribution of resources in Regicide, it might not be a bad idea to go for gold a little bit earlier than usual. But in the meantime, scouts are being produced, an archery range coming up for Jolatis as well, so I'm expecting scouts into archers play from him. I
think it's also quite obvious who's choosing what role in this game. I think Kron is going for the defensive strategy, and Jolatis is going for the offensive strategy.
I agree, that is indeed clearly visible. Palisade walls coming up. Is he going? He is going to lose that villager, and that is the first eco kill. Well, let's disregard the eco kill by the elephant. Ooh, and a second villager. That was probably a weak one. And a third villager. Oh man, Kron, that must be painful. In the meantime, Jolatis coming at Kron from both sides. Distracting with 1 scout on the gold, while his 3 scouts are trying to raid the wood line, but the problem is they're in each other's path. And the watchtower is doing quite some damage. And there's a spearman to just chase them away, so good defense from Kron. However, he did already suffer 5 eco losses. And oh, I was mistaken. The archery range was not to go archers, but to provide some backup skirmishers as a counter to the spearmen. And indeed, here we see some nice micro by Jolatis, pushing back the spearman with his skirmishers. Indeed, always nicely keeping the scouts around the skirmishers, not too far away, so they can jump in when the archers or the scouts decide to go for them, and they can retreat when the pikemen are there. Sorry, the spearmen. So Tim, tell me,
yes.
Huns versus Chinese.
They never fought in real life. But the Huns actually, well, they did fight in real life. But before the time period of this game. the Huns originally come. Wait. Let me switch to the tab where I had it open.
As everyone can hear, we are super well prepared with all our interesting factoids. All off the top of our heads. Quality performance right here. I think I've given you enough time to quickly glance over the Wikipedia page.
Yeah. So it was the 4th century before Christ.
That is indeed a little bit before. Well,
and they. So there was a tribe around present-day Mongolia, but then they got beaten by the Chinese, actually, and then they retreated towards Europe, and then they got named by the Greeks and the Romans towards the name under which we know them now, namely the Huns. So they were defeated by the Han dynasty.
Age of Empires 1 indeed. Although you could argue Dark Age, that's not too far off from like the years like way back in the past as well. Personally, I feel that the age from Dark Age to Feudal Age is rather large. At least larger than the jump from Feudal to Castle Age. That discussion aside, the current status is that Kron has managed to basically wall himself in and is defending himself quite nicely from the aggression of Jolatis.
I also like that Jolatis was with those scouts checking if there would have been a hole behind the trees all the way at the side of the map.
Indeed, that shows very good map awareness. I have to say, I like the eco distribution of Jolatis a little bit more. Kron has quite a lot on wood and not that many on food. While Jolatis has quite the farming eco already, and with wheelbarrow now coming in, that will be super efficient. So I'm predicting that he's trying to go to Castle Age right now and try to end it there. Unfortunately, the lion was not given a long time to live here.
There's also one scout playing hide and seek from Jolatis at the top. He's behind the tree. You can barely see him.
Oh yeah. Found you. Okay.
Oh, you have small trees?
I have small trees mod, yes.
I don't. So I can really barely see him.
Oh, okay, now I understand. I thought, well, this looks like a fight that Kron could take against the scouts, but he was waiting for reinforcements from the spearmen. And then a second stable coming in, and indeed Castle Age being researched by Jolatis. Meanwhile, Kron, unless he puts down a market, he is nowhere near the food he needs to go up to Castle. And now this feudal army skirms versus archers and spearmen. That was great. I always confuse pikes and spearmen. But yeah, that has a very poor track record against the skirmishers. So Jolatis easily deflecting the attempted counterattack by Kron. Kron only now getting double bit axe, so he's a little bit behind as well in ecotechs. Although Kron has horse color while Jolatis does not. Okay, so Jolatis entering Castle Age and immediately knights being queued. bow saw, so the rather classic approach being used here. Meanwhile, Kron still massing some archers. But I think as soon as he notices that there are knights on the field, he might either add a few more spearmen, or since he's close to castle, he might add a few stables and try to go camel.
He also has one very brave villager, 2 brave villagers. Oh no, now they're retreating. I was gonna say they also wanted to fight.
The curse of box select, and we see Kron saying sorry go, so I assume that there was some pause in the game right there.
Maybe a doorbell for an Amazon package or something.
Or, you know, nature calling, always possible.
No, also possible.
And now Kron is also a quarter of the way to castle age. I think he has not seen that there are knights on the field, so probably that is why I see him now queuing up a few more spearmen. And I expect the pikeman upgrade to be researched rather quickly as soon as he hits castle age. Oh, we have a tiny exodus of 5 villagers for Kron that are sneaking around. And they escaped the notice of Jolatis. Are they going to build a little outpost base? Yes, lumber camp. Okay, yeah, indeed, the wood lines were getting a little bit thin, especially for the amount of villagers he has on wood. But yes, 21 villagers on wood, that is quite the amount. Also, despite the fact that he only now reaches castle age and now is building his second town center, there is an eco lead for Kron. So despite the eco losses and the booming opportunity that Jolatis has had, he is a little bit behind, but there is something that nobody ever wants to see.
Oof. Castle on a hill.
Castle on a hill against your fortifications. Cleverly positioned, not completely against the wall, so you don't need murder holes to really plow your way through into the enemy base. This is an extremely aggressive move.
Oh, massive exodus again.
Massive exodus, indeed. A third town center going up with another 7 villagers that are leaving the base behind.
5 that are moving even further down.
Indeed, Kron is going for the spiderweb approach, I think. Just try to reach every corner of the map. And now with these fight in the middle, indeed, and that is indeed one that Jolatis should be retreating from. He is no match with his measly skirmishers against this massive amount of crossbows. And this can be quite dangerous since he has almost no protection at home, so his eco is completely exposed.
And the king is still in the tower.
The king is indeed still in the tower, so if Kron notices this, he can just park his archers underneath the tower, avoiding all tower fire and take it down that way. It is not the most efficient, but it is a way to do it.
The archers are standing in the tower fire though.
They are standing in there indeed. They are taking some rather unnecessary damage. but not enough. And he noticed the garrison flag, and the archers are indeed... Oh, he's just sending the spearmen forward, trying to... Nope. He now needs them to try to hold off all the knights and cav archers that are attacking his crossbows. And here we see some nice... Well, we were seeing some nice micro from the archers. Oh, retreat with those cav archers, yes. Some good attention to the unit formations and to the positioning by both players here. Unfortunately, I think the archers will not live much longer. So that was that attack diverted. In the meantime, the castle is gathering up the eco kills. I think at this stage it might actually be nice to build a university and go for... Oh. Go for ballistics. No GG. Suddenly Jolatis is victorious.
Was there a drop of connection?
I'm not completely sure. I believe something like that must have happened, because I really don't see any reason for Kron to surrender right now.
The king is still alive?
Is the king still alive? The king is still in the watchtower.
Yeah.
For both players. So
the town center was deleted. I think maybe by accident.
That is a possibility. Well, before we decide, TC was killed by the castle. He left. TC was killed by the castle. So that was indeed the last game of the series?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay then.
I mean, there is still another game.
There is another game, indeed.
It's not part of the series, because it's already decided.
No. Okay. Jolatis says no, so let's then refresh. There is another game.
Yeah, but I think this was just played for fun.
Just played for fun. Okay, so indeed, so Jolatis is taking the series 3-1. Okay. This was a little bit confusing with the sudden resignation without any real reason that we can see here. But congratulations, Jolatis, on conquering Kron, who, as we've seen against Pedrak Delta, is not an easy opponent. Really knows his strategies and the counters to go for.
I think this matchup was a prime example of counters and how to counter the counter. And for example, in the marketplace one, if you know, wait, I was thinking about it during the game. Like, you know that you first send the scout, so then the other one sends the spearman, so you send the archer. So it's like a rock paper scissors game.
Yes.
But at an advanced level.
At a very advanced level, with hundreds of scissors and rocks and papers. But okay, let's then have a quick look at the marketplace game. Let's switch these sides again. Make Jolatis blue and Kron red. Alright, Tim, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm very curious if they're gonna take this game serious, or if this is gonna be like a...
Well, it's Ethiopians versus Byzantines, so I don't see any... I don't know of any meme strats that can be used, like, for example, the Persian douche, as we saw yesterday.
No, but you can go for some very unique things, like the... Let's try to make 20 monks. Just convert everything that comes in.
I mean, that is a very annoying tactic, but that is a possibility.
Don't even know.
Yes, as mentioned yesterday, start with 2 trade cards instead of a scout. So it's a little bit harder on the multitasking aspect of the game, but it is still rather fine. One additional thing is that it does give you an additional population. So Kron, if he's not too careful, will find himself housed very soon. Oh, he counters this by researching Loom. But I don't see any... Okay, I must have missed. It helps, of course, if I'm actually looking at Kron. I keep mixing up the colors. But yes, so there was a house built just in time to prevent being housed.
Just a question. What does the pavilion do?
The pavilion is an extra house that you get on Marketplace.
But a fancy
So
one.
it is a fancy house with a little bit less HP and not as much armor against Pierce. So it's a house basically.
But it's not very useful because you can kill it easier.
It has 55 HP less, and it has no 7 Pierce armor, so yes. But then again, it's a free house, so...
Alright.
Tim wants to have a talk with the developers about their choices.
Yeah, it looks very Roman to me. Or maybe... I don't know.
Roman?
Yeah, like these war tents they used to have, like the Romans when they were putting up camp. Or if you read Asterix and Obelix, then you always see these tents.
I mean, I think the Romans are not the only civilization to have used these kind of tents when going on a war campaign, but sure. They do have the most famous examples of them, indeed.
I'm also very curious how they will change if the age changes from feudal goes to feudal.
Apparently, next time he goes camping, Knight of St. John will ask his tent provider about Pierce armor. I think you very well should. You know, all those crossbowmen that you encounter in the Belgian Ardennes, it's really a plague.
I wouldn't be surprised if in Canada they sold tents with Pierce armor against bears.
That would be melee armor, I think.
Ah, okay.
I'm not completely sure.
Flying squirrels?
But why would you want those to be out of your tent? Just, they're so adorable. In a somewhat unrelated note, the rhino blinds are really amazing. I saw a picture of one, or rather a video that someone took of just walking around a rhino blind. And it's really super well camouflaged. And from the inside you see everything. I don't understand how it works.
Mirrors. Lots of mirrors.
It's... You might be onto something there, but I don't think so. Somehow I have a feeling it's not mirrors. In the meantime, Kron going for the heavy walling, but potentially to the wrong side. I will take a quick look. No, he knows where Jolatis is hiding. So I'm rather confused why he decides to wall the other side first.
To get back to the previous point, maybe it makes use of gravitational lensing?
I think if the Rhino Blind uses gravitational lensing to send light in only one direction, they should have a talk with some particle physicists, because I think they'd be interested in that.
I'm gonna Google it now. I really don't even know what it is.
Ooh, and Jolatis being housed at the moment at least, and that is completely due to the Drush that is coming in. Well, Drush. By the time they hit anything, they will be Man-at-Arms, so it's a Man-at-Arms rush. Oh, and they might be able to take out... Nope. Kron notices it in time and manages to pull the trade card out of position.
But you can still see the Rhino blinds from outside. I thought that they were like invisible for us as well. Like you could sit inside and you could see everything, but people from the outside couldn't see it. It's just camouflage.
I did say that they were extremely well camouflaged. I did not say that it's an invisibility tent.
Yeah, well, that's extremely well camouflaged, an invisibility tent.
Yes, but not everything that's extremely well camouflaged is an invisibility tent. There's the implication only goes one way, Tim. We have learned about this.
I would have described this well camouflaged and not really well camouflaged. Anyway.
Anyway.
I'm disappointed that the pavilion didn't change in skin when it went to Feudal Age.
But it did gain 50 hit points. Although this does mean that it's now a full 300 hit points lower than a normal house. Must be a massive tent. It is for photographers taking pictures of rhinos, so it needs to be a massive tent for their giant balls in order to do that, I think. And indeed, as you mentioned, the pavilion, slightly weaker house. So it's going down rather quickly. Fortunately for Kron, this is not an issue. He has quite comfortably walled with a couple of houses, so he has the pop space in order to combat this. In the meantime, there's some nice micro action going on here with Jolatis using his trade cards to prevent or at least delay the walling of Kron's villager. Never knew Age of Empires 2 had so much tent content. It's all here. Especially if you leave Tim talking, he can make anything into lots of tent content. Or whatever content you desire.
They're going for the standard strategies. They're booming, they're doing everything that's expected, so to say. They're playing it really well, but...
True. They're indeed playing it really well, and the Man-at-Arms is now followed up with a couple of archers.
The Great Guard is trying to fight.
I mean, stampeding horses, I think there were some statistical studies being done on trampling in the Prussian cavalry, so, you know, I don't think this is implemented, but that could be an option for trade cards. Just rolling over enemy units. Yeah, it's quite an intensive fight here at the front line. The Men-at-Arms making... Ooh, the Men-at-Arms are on stand ground, so they're not automatically targeting the skirmishers that are unfortunately taking out all the archers that Jolatis has gathered here already. Jolatis going for the weak villager and then retreating this Men-at-Arms in order to take a few whacks at the villager that is now very weak indeed. And then using them to take down this single palisade wall. Nicely stationing his archers on top of the hill. I would target the palisade wall just to help bring it down a little bit earlier, and indeed he does so.
I'm really wondering how the trade card got there.
Oh, this trade card.
The blue one.
The blue one, yeah, that was just there. Like, When he tried to prevent the wall being erected here, it just came inside and now it's kind of trapped.
Yeah, I know, but why would you send a trade card to your enemy's base?
I mean, for scouting purposes.
Oh. I thought maybe for diplomacy purposes. Is it actually possible to trade in a 1v1 game?
It is possible. You can trade with your enemy's market and your enemy docks.
Oh.
And especially on this map, Marketplace, which has a market in each corner, you can trade with the neutral markets. So there is a possibility of infinite gold on this map. Even in 1v1.
What's 14?
14 is the number for the start the game already.
Oh,
taunt.
The one that we heard. Alright. So
Yes.
probably another pause then.
Probably another pause by Jolatis, who then asks in that way if they can resume the game. Kron sending back 1, which means yes, and then the game resumed. Yeah, a quite nice archer moss being produced by Jolatis here, who, as the Ethiopians, has the bonus of, you know, faster firing archers. However, the skirmishers for the Byzantines that Kron is controlling, they are cheaper. So that is why the Byzantines are known as defensive and counter civilizations. Their cheaper spearman line and skirmisher line makes it so you can more easily counter the common units of the other player. And they also have access to the camels, which is an additional counter to the cavalry. And with their buildings having extra HP, they are quite the defensive powerhouse. And we have seen Kron steer into victory already against the Franks of Pedirac Delta, which are regarded as one of the strongest civilizations in the game.
The diplomacy efforts. Oh no! The diplomacy efforts of the trade cards.
They have failed indeed.
Were to no avail.
And
war has been declared.
I would expect... No. I mean, Kron has kind of cut himself off from any market access. But Jolatis has not, so he could actually just plop down a market and then his trade card could actually, instead of exploring the map further, be used as a gold mining.
If you switch to his view, I don't think he needs to explore much more map.
He does indeed appear to kind of know where everything is. But yeah, I think he's a little bit more military focused at the moment. Siege workshop going up at the front. Botkin arrow crossbowmen coming in.
Town center for Kron.
Also a second town center for Jolatis. On the central wood area. Oh, also it looks like there is a nice house wall going around the base, but on this hill, Jolatis actually has left 2 holes, like one here on the hill itself and then one on the side of the map. I don't think that will prove to be of any importance, however.
There's also a hole at the top, because the trade cards went through there earlier, of the house wall, close to the trees, to the forest.
Okay. Probably over here. Where the villagers are cutting down.
Yeah, somewhere there were trade cards going through.
Yeah, so it's it looks impressive, but it's a Swiss cheese basically. And then the conflict at the front line here, Mangonel rolling out. which is an excellent counter against the mass of skirmishers that Kron has, who have now become elite skirmishers. But it's still kind of dangerous to engage this mass of archers, especially with a mangonel on top of a hill. And as soon as he sees a second mangonel, he knows that Jolatis is getting through this house wall. And there's nothing that he can do about this. Indeed, he's making some stables himself. Bodkin arrow is coming in order to reinforce the skirmishers. More skirmishers are being produced as well. And indeed, the two houses on the front line are down and give access to Jolatis to go inside Kron's base. And in addition to the mass of roughly 20 elite skirms, Kron is starting some knight production. But Jolatis is very patient, keeping his mangonel and crossbow army together.
Oh, shooting a house?
Shooting a house, indeed. I wouldn't... There you go. Ooh. Diplomacy, it's rejected. And constantly targeting the archery range. Ooh, that was a big bada boom. I mean, I understand the logic of taking down the archery range, but I feel there was some opportunity to take down a few more skirmishers here. Meanwhile, the skirmishers are getting in some hits, and there goes one mangonel. Oh, and now he should see the knight approaching. Indeed. Okay, and now the reinforcements, the extra crossbows are coming in. Oof. And another big bada boom by the dying mangonel.
One shot at the knight.
Ballistics is coming in as well. I don't know if Thumbring has come in, but based on the speed of firing by these archers, I think so.
Another mangonel.
Another mangonel rolling
Very
forward.
focused on the houses for some reason.
Yeah. Archery range going down, which is cutting quite a bit into the queue that Kron had saved up. Ballistics is now in as well. And now the knights are trying to come closer, but the crossbows are there to guard the mangonel. And occasionally taking some shots against the skirmishers. And we're getting more archery ranges at the front. In the meantime, there has been a third town center for Jolatis, as well as Kron. Do we have a market already? We do have a market, so Thumbring is now in for Jolatis, so the archers will now really be machine guns. And let's have a look. Do we see a trade card somewhere? It's standing still, so at this stage you could really just send that trade card to the corner market as far away as possible. And then it could just gather some additional gold instead of just taking up pop space.
I think Jolatis is also slowly saving up for a castle with like a tiny outside stone gathering base.
Indeed, here sending some villagers, building a house, building a mining camp, reinforcing there with a fourth town center. I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed in the mangonel micro. The archer micro is fantastic, but I have a feeling there's some needless mangonel deaths that were here, so That, I think, could have been better.
You also don't know what time it was when they played.
That is true as well.
This is game 5, it might be.
It might be that it's just, well, whatever. Also, it's just for fun, so I assume that he's a little bit less focused on his control of the units. But yeah, I think the... Ooh. Kron has some... Okay, now he ejected them. He had some elite skirmishers garrisoned in the town center. It feels a bit like a kind of a stalemate at the front line here. Jolatis can't really advance that much, but Kron is not really able to push Jolatis back either. And whoa, look at that queue. 38 elite skirmishers in the queue. Meanwhile, Jolatis going up to Imperial.
I think that's gonna be the game changer.
I think once he reaches Imperial and manages to research Onager maybe in order to really deal with this giant mass of elite skirms, that will indeed be, as you said, the game changer. At least I'm assuming that Ethiopians get... oh yes, Ethiopians do get Onager. They even get Siege Onager. And as you can see here, the mass of elite skirms is is heavily weakened, and Kron tells Jolatis to fight like a man, while Jolatis laughs at this and just says, "You should die like a man." And I think both players are taking each other's advice, and it's just a massive fight in the middle. And look at the red elite skirmishers just going down, and now the villagers are just being sent forward, unfortunately to their death. They will fight to the very last man and or woman. And now Jolatis is actually using the mangonel to kill his own archers, which he is now upgrading to Arbalest. I think this does show that our two players are having a lot of fun with each other.
I think this was an attempt. It's too bad that the new civilizations are banned, because this was an attempt at the Flemish Revolution.
Yes, if this were Flemish Revolution, that would have gone completely differently. However, that is an Imperial Age tech as well, so he should have given Kron a little bit more time in that case. So Kron saying he won because he defeated the army, right? Yes. Yes, Kron, you won. GG. And indeed, Jolatis resigning, and this best of 5 ends... Well, ended the previous game already, but let's just quickly do it like this. We are ending it in a 3-1. We're counting it as a 3-2. In the favor of Jolatis. Whew. So, that was an exciting series of matches.
Yeah, so, but I think, I don't know, did anyone predict that Kron would win? I'm curious to see the updated betting pool.
I think the betting pool was 10 votes in favor of Jolatis and 2 votes in favor of Kron. Let me quickly call up the Google Doc. Yes, 10-2. And let me just quickly pass through. It was indeed Antocalyptica who betted on El Kron to pass. And who was the other one?
And
that would be El Kron himself, who obviously
betted
guessed
for
that he
himself.
himself would win.
And then what's the opponent of Jolatis in who's gonna be the opponent of Jolatis in the next round?
We don't know yet. That match has not been cast yet, but that is
So it will be Sven, basically.
it will be Sven. It will be
All
Sven.
right.
Which Sven?
Yeah.
We don't know. That is for the Sven off that will be happening on Saturday.
Ooh. All
Uh,
right.
where Jolatis himself will join me for the co-cast. He will let me know at some point at what time he can actually be here. So stay tuned for that.
Probably a bit more professional and a bit more tactical insight than what I could
Oof.
provide.
Knight of St. John says that it will be legendary. That's I think every series up to now has been some kind of legendary. So it's a relatively high bar to clear, but I hope you clear it. And let me just have a look. I don't know if both. No, unfortunately, not both Svens are in the chat. Otherwise, we could ask Sven. So, how does it feel to know that you have to go up against Jolatis? Well, unfortunately, we can only know this answer after Saturday evening.
I mean, you can save that for the winner interview for Saturday. If they're
The
both
winner.
if they're both online, then one of them, the winner, can join for a small interview afterwards.
Indeed, we can make it happen. We can make that happen. If indeed both Svens are available at that point in time. But so, that will be the final series in the quarterfinals that has to be played. And then it will be time for the semifinals, where we already know what the matchup will be for the first quarterfinal. That is Antocalyptica versus Frobenius. And then the second semifinal is Jolatis versus Sven.
All right.
Uh,
Lots to look
yeah,
forward to.
indeed, lots to look forward to. I think both series will once again prove to be very entertaining. And then a big build up of lots of hype towards the grand finals, which we will actually try to do some live casting on a to be determined Sunday. Where the preliminary plan is also to have our very first triple cast of the low elo legends commenting all the games. So that would be me, Tim, and Joe Nasty.
All right. I think that's gonna be very non-tactical.
Very non-tactical, chaos all around, and the spectators will be completely annoyed with what we decide to focus on. It's gonna be great.
I think we should go for stories. We should name the villagers and then follow the villagers. Like name one Lucy, and then we follow Lucy all the way around
I
until
think
she
that is indeed
dies.
what we should do. And then I will make sure I have some sound effects to play so we can have a bit of a funeral march whenever our chosen unit dies.
Oh, we should make a betting pool between the three of us. Everyone chooses one villager, and the one who dies the last wins.
That would be amazing. I think we should do that, yes.
Anyway.
Indeed. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Well, let's end the show, rather, because that was the last game. So yeah, Jolatis going through 3-1. yeah, let's look forward to Saturday, and then we know who wins the Sven off. So, Tim, thanks for joining me here today.
Ah, you're more than welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, so everybody watching, hopefully see you Saturday. Bye.